Good morning, everybody. It is, what is it, Tuesday? It's the last day of April. Holy hell. Yeah, tomorrow is a brand new month.
Yep, and a public holiday.
And a public holiday. Jack Motlanthe here with me, and you hopefully up and at 'em first thing in the morning. I hope you're having a great start to your day, and you're ready to kick some ass.
Yes, sir.
All right.
Just take a couple of names while you're at it.
Yeah. We're not here to, what do they say? We're not here to fuck spiders.
Who says that?
That's what people say. You don't know this?
No.
All right. Well, now you know.
Yeah.
I've had a busy 2.5 days.
Yeah, it's been hectic.
Holy shit. I can count on one hand the total number of hours in 48 that I've not been awake and busy. So that's good. I mean, listen, you need those occasionally.
You do.
But I'm so happy that tomorrow is a public holiday. I can just crash and do zero. So expect to hear nothing from me over the next 24 hours.
No, ditto.
What is it? It's Workers' Day.
Yeah, Workers' Day.
Yeah.
To some people, it's just simply May Day. They call it May Day.
Well, it's got a long history for socialists. It's a big special day for them. So I think it was included in the official public holiday register for South Africa because a bunch of communists and socialists decided in 1994, no, look, Freedom Day is important, but actually
Workers' Day.
Yes, let's get the intern going again. Some people just can't give up on a bad idea, huh?
Yeah, no. Yeah. Like, I think the only time they'll give up is if they are 6 feet under. But, you know.
Well, or they put everyone else 6 feet under. That's usually what they prefer to do. Anyway, we're not going to start on a depressing note because it is Tuesday. We are going into public holiday. It's like a mini Friday today. And we've got quite a lot to get to. We got some Democracy 101 for you a little later on. And there's some news that we have to get into and discuss. But why don't you start off? This is interesting. I have never, because I don't have kids at kindergarten age. I don't even have kids, but I've never really thought about nursery school. I remember I went to nursery school. It was mostly just, there's like, I mean, if I think about it now, it was pretty good schedule-wise. We had like scheduled nap time.
Yes, sir.
Remember that?
Yeah.
Be like, now, children, we're going to have a nap. Man, what I wouldn't give for that at the workplace these days. Like,
yeah.
Bring on that nap time. And you had a little pillow. You remember? Have
a little blanket there.
Yeah. It's fantastic.
But as an excuse me, as an adult, I do not do power naps at all. Like I can't. I'm one of those people. Like if I go to sleep, I need the full 6 or 7 hours. Because if anything interrupts my sleep, I am up. Like going back to sleep is a very difficult thing for me to do.
I don't really think we should be making nursery school or kindergarten, as a lot of people call it. It's a very American term.
Yeah, it is.
Well, German originally, but American term now. I don't think we should make it too complicated. Like I see parents trying to squeeze all kinds of extra lessons in there. We're talking like, what, 2, 3, 4, 5-year-olds, right?
Yeah.
Because 5, 6, you should be starting school.
Yeah.
But before that, you should just play. I don't want them learning computational science and coding and complex language at 2, 3 years old. I'm not a parent, but I wouldn't like. There's got to be a point somewhere in the kid's life where they're just a kid.
Yeah,
just playing.
Unless you're born in China.
Oh boy. Okay, so the Chinese are going to force them to learn everything by age 4.
Yes, sir. And
right.
I came across this video on TikTok.
Oh,
it blew up. So it's got about 47 million views right now.
Jesus.
And a bunch of comments as well. So these kids, it's like the routine that they go through at school. I mean, they're jumping or like they on monkey bars. They're doing this synchronized dribbling with 2 different basketballs. It's absolutely insane. I sent James the video. James, have you got me, bro?
Yeah. Put that up there. Let's take. All right. Okay. Look.
How that is actually beautiful to see.
Yeah.
For me personally, if I was their age, and we were being put through those kind of drills and whatnot.
I'm not sure I like it.
I love it.
There's like a Goldilocks zone somewhere between making it look like the kids are in a military training camp, which is what a lot of that looks like.
Sort of, yeah.
Okay, and really, I mean, look, obviously, this is why China's going to win, and it's why it would take about, I don't know, 100 well-trained Chinese soldiers to overwhelm our entire military in this country. They're all fat. They're all useless. They all don't know how to march in time. I don't know if you saw on Freedom Day on Saturday, the president's guard were marching at the Union buildings. I mean, it's
they were
like
playing at marching.
Those Chinese kids could march better than those guys.
Without a shadow of a doubt. Now, here's my thing.
But so hang on. So there's the military training aspect to that, which looks very impressive. But you think, these are little children. I don't mind them making their own food and learning skills. And, there's obstacle courses and stuff to keep them amused. But like that regimented stuff, it makes me very nervous when governments start making, because that's the government that's making them do that.
Yeah, sure. But
making children force, okay, children, today we're going to all learn how to climb ropes.
Yeah. The flip side of that, Gareth.
You like this.
Look, there's discipline baked into that. You also get muscle development, all of this stuff, this dexterity, and all of, like, there's so many positives that I got from that video, especially the communal aspect of things, because these kids are now learning how to work with one another instead of in opposition to one another.
I mean, Sharon says it looks like they're having fun. Definitely talented children.
Yep.
Yeah. Okay. If they're having fun, if they're genuinely enjoying it, great. I mean, I don't think discipline is a bad thing.
Sure.
In fact, I'm all for discipline, especially for children who just have none, especially if kids don't have any of that at home.
Because unruly children are the worst.
Worst, right?
The worst.
No, the only time I ever really encounter them is on planes and, the occasional bit of public transport and sometimes in a queue somewhere. Or at a push restaurant, those ones that allow kids.
Yeah.
But otherwise, I don't really, and it doesn't seem too hard to get your kids to behave. Like, it doesn't seem like it's the toughest job on earth. There are people who like work underground and it's like 45 degrees all the time.
Yep.
And you can't really see and you can't really breathe. And you're digging out like filth from the walls of the earth. And that seems to me like a harder job than getting your child to behave.
Without a doubt.
People say parenting is the hardest job ever.
Those people.
No, it isn't.
Like, go work on an oil rig and let's have a conversation afterwards.
There we go. So don't tell me like parenting's the toughest job in the world. That's absolute nonsense.
Yep.
But if you can get your kid to behave, then that's the first step in parenting. You get a badge.
Yeah. Yep.
But there are a couple of badges that come after that as well. And I don't know whether I want kindergartens like this, but I want something more in that direction.
A bit of structure. Never heard.
Like, I think kids at South African nursery schools, what I said before when we were at nursery schools, like they sleep, eat, play.
Yep.
Which is fine. Little bit of discipline, not a bad idea. I just don't want them to be turned into little military soldiers.
Little minions.
At the age of 3 or 4, and these kids are like learning to march in perfect time. I mean, I find that all pretty scary.
Yeah. I don't know. Like, I'm all for it. Like, perhaps we can draw the line at just how much of their day is given up to that kind of discipline and exercise and marching and all of this stuff. Perhaps if they're there for 6 or 7 hours out of the day, then it's pretty cool. But then they have to also be able to be kids, right? At the end of the day. Okay. So I think let's split the difference. You're at school between 8 and 2. And then from that point, you kind of left to your own devices. But while you are at school,
you learn things. Yeah. I mean, school's not just, for many parents, school is like, well, it's a place you could send your children so you don't have to be with them.
Right. It's like those little rats are finally out of here.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. So that's interesting. And maybe there are, the things that are a little less kind of militant that I think I could be warm to.
Yeah.
So Sean says in the comments, at least you get to go home after the digging in the mines. Are you saying parenting's hard because what? You never have an off day? Well, again,
Sean, I'm not sure you want to go down this road, bro.
Sean, people have been raising children since we were like hominids, okay? Like we just climbed down from the trees and we've managed to, like, small mammals can raise their children.
Yeah.
Don't tell me this is the hardest job in the world.
No, it's not.
You know, yesterday I was at Marapeng with these American guests of ours, and I saw again like Homo naledi and Australopithecus sediba and these early ancestors of humans. I mean, these are terrified little creatures that would have been like trying to hide from predators that were 8 times their size.
Sure.
And they managed to raise children. Otherwise, guess what? None of us would be here.
Yep.
So if they could get it right with their tiny brains, size of an apple, and not really the ability to use any kind of meaningful tools, I mean, maybe they could brandish a stick.
Something of that sort.
But I mean, these were not advanced creatures.
Yeah, no, definitely.
And if they could raise the kids, I think you'll be okay, Sean. I think you'll be okay. We don't need to use AI to raise the children for you. Know what I mean?
And resilience is something that kids should learn pretty early. And so a little bit of child abandonment is pretty good.
Abandonment. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. So there's Jack's.
Just in small doses.
There's Jack's not uncontroversial point of view. Okay. Very good. In the wise words of Dr. Phil, says Tracy, we're not raising children. We're raising adults. Okay, yeah.
Well,
fine, fair enough. I'm not sure what that actually means.
Neither do I.
Slippery Pickle says all Michael Jackson's digging was done at home. He never had to go to school for any of that.
Oh,
dirty, dirty, dirty Slippery Pickle.
Ay. And you know how I feel about the Michael Jackson stuff. Like, that's another rabbit hole.
Pumlani says, imagine a job you do while wearing pajamas and calling it difficult.
Yeah. Come on.
Good point, well put. It's the most rewarding job in the world. All right, I don't want to go into a whole like argument now about parenting being the best job or the worst job in the world. I'm not here for the fight. I'm really not. Again, it's been an ongoing and recurring theme this last 2 weeks is parenting.
Yeah.
Okay, I want you to know if you're a parent, you have my support and very often my sympathy because it's hard. It is tough.
It is.
But what we're saying this morning is it's not the toughest job. You know that platitude people throw around at each other. You're a mom. It's the toughest job in the world.
Guys.
Really?
Guys.
There's some guy who's he's in a laboratory and he's working with dangerous toxic chemicals every day. He's probably shortening his lifespan every time he does. But he's trying to discover a cure for something and long hours, way too much coffee, no relationship, spends the whole day in front of either computer screens, microscopes, whatever. Is developing an alcoholic habit probably on the days that he's not there. And his job is significantly harder than feed the kids, take the kids to school.
Yeah.
It's, again, moms and dads, you have my support and you have my sympathy, but you cannot claim it's the toughest job in the world.
No.
I'm just not buying it.
Yeah. Let's not overinflate our egos. Let's just
would
keep
be
it
like
exactly
me saying,
where it is.
oh, it's really hard doing this show because, if we're 5 minutes late, everyone knows. So hard. And we have to talk about really, really hard stuff. I mean, I can sit here and moan.
Yeah.
No one's going to believe me. Feel sorry for me. Please.
No, we don't care.
Nobody cares about anyone else's suffering. Sooner you realize that, the quicker you become an adult.
Yeah.
These people who wander around constantly complaining about their lives. And I'm not saying that's what you're doing. But if you are, just think about the fact that actually nobody wants to hear it.
Yeah.
Nobody's waiting. Imagine waking up in the morning, going to work or going to school, going to university or whatever you do during your day, going to gym. And the first thing you have to hear is some other asshole moaning about, I've had a very, very hard life. And, when I was 7, My uncle made me sit on his hand. Nobody's interested. Just because Oprah used to make TV out of this nonsense doesn't mean anyone is sitting around waiting for you to tell your sob story. Nobody cares. Get on with it in your life. Make a difference. Try to help other people. Try to make some money. Try to put some food on the table. And let's talk about fun things. Okay?
Yeah.
Right.
I agree.
Yeah,
completely.
There we go. Okay, there's my rant for the morning. Done.
Yeah.
Sure, it's always a relief when I get it out early.
That way we can carry on with the show, right?
Then I can move on with my day.
Yeah, I love it.
All right. Ginger Ninja says parenting is the only tough job is only a tough job if you're doing it wrong. Well, again, I don't have experience with this, so I can't really say.
Yeah.
Pumlani says a child gives you a hard time. You tell him to take a nap and you drink wine. Imagine how difficult.
Ooh.
Okay. All right. Very good. What do we got here in the news this morning? Let's take a look at some of the stories in the news. First things first, you told me that homeless people are camping out
yes, sir.
at Luli House.
And there's a video.
How fantastic.
I didn't get an opportunity to send it to my good friend James.
So explain it to us.
For those of you who are familiar with Luli House, it's like right at the corner of what's that street? I think it's Sour and Risic, yes. And all the way around the corner from the entrance of Luli House, all the way around to where Luli House comes to an end, you've got homeless people sleeping outside of Luli House
with ANC branding right behind them.
Right behind them.
So it's a beautiful picture. It's like, this is 30 years of democracy, and look what we've done for the homeless.
There you go.
Nothing.
And what I find absolutely amazing is the ANC themselves aren't the ones that are complaining. It's the businesses next door that are complaining about this.
Of course not. Because you know what? There's probably no one going to Luli House at the moment. They're all busy campaigning.
Yeah.
The last time we checked in at Luli House, they weren't being paid. Remember, the tea lady hadn't been paid. The cleaners hadn't been paid. They were like, sorry.
They were like 2 seconds away from selling furniture. You remember that?
And then luckily that Iranian money came in. It's hard to decide who I have less sympathy for. Probably the homeless people I have more sympathy for.
Definitely.
Because, it's tough. You're a homeless person. You don't have a lot of options.
Yeah.
But you do have an option about where you make your little, your little encampment.
Oh, yeah.
Where you put your blankets. And your booze.
Your few earthly belongings.
And your tick or whatever it is that you've got with your nyope.
And your
whatever. So you've got a couple of decisions to make every day as a homeless person. But I have a lot of time for the homeless people who've made this an opportunity in an election year to campaign against the ANC. I'm like, you know what, guys? Congratulations. You've chosen the right place to set up your little encampment.
I love it. I absolutely love it. I wish I could put that way of thinking into a lot of the people in my neighborhood. Whenever things go wrong, they decide to trash our neighborhood. I'm like, guys, this is a bad idea. Let's go to the problem.
Go and leave your feces right at the door so that Fikile Mbalula has to step over it to get to his office.
There you go. I love that.
Because then he will realize, like, that's what government's here to make sure that doesn't happen. See, these politicians, they live in a world where they don't actually encounter real life things.
Yeah, they don't.
They got bodyguards, blue light brigades. Someone else buys their food.
Yep.
Someone else pays for their house. Someone else pays for their fuel. They don't really work. They sit around and talk for a living. They've never like replied to an email or set up a meeting that isn't just more talk, getting things done, making things happen, actually fixing a pipe or, they don't do any of that.
None of it.
So they're disconnected from reality. Then when reality meets them, like on the street outside Luli House, they're like, oh, that's terrible.
We've got a problem.
How did this happen?
It's like, hey, no shit, Sherlock. We do have a problem.
Yes.
It's just that you are finally having to deal with it up close and personal. It's sad that there are homeless people like that, but I am happy that they took the initiative to sleep on that corner specifically. I love it.
All the corners Who knows? We may have homeless people listening. I don't have anything else to do.
It's possible.
Then
I think they're using the free Wi-Fi.
If you're one of those
Luli House.
homeless people, then let me know, because we'll get you on the show and talk to you about your decision of where you want to set yourself up, and what a great decision this has been.
Yes.
Okay,
love it.
So I don't know about you, but I realized it feels like just yesterday I got my new driving license card.
Okay.
Because we have to do them every 5 years, which is insane. I mean, I don't see it. Why is that necessary? It's purely a money-making thing, right? So the Department of Transport is set to introduce new driving license cards at the end of April, but there's no sign of the printer being installed or even arriving in the country. The printer will be used by the Department of Transport's driver's license card division to manufacture new cards with improved security features, biometric data, holograms and watermarks. I don't know why we need all that. All you need is something saying you can drive or you can't drive.
That's it. And you just slap a little barcode on the back of it. That way it's unique to you, and that's it. Like, what are we doing?
I don't know. Anyway, all of this stuff where they constantly, like I was pulled over yesterday because they do these checks. And then they want to look at your disc. They want to look at your card. It happened the day before. I don't know if there's just a lot of Metro police around, or maybe I'm driving around a lot.
Yeah, no, they're busy these days.
Why are they checking me all the time? It feels like there's a lot of this that's unnecessary. And maybe they're people who don't have their license up to date and all of that stuff. So I understand they're probably looking for those people so they can extract money from them. But a driver's license, once you've got it, why do you have to renew it?
I don't get it.
It's done. I don't. You're not. It's not like they're pulling over 99-year-olds and saying to them, "Hey, listen, you're too old to drive." Those 99-year-olds, I have even seen very, very old people who need help moving, like moving their bodies, being guided, handheld into the, what do they call it, license center?
Yeah.
And applying for a new license. I'm like, clearly this is just a performance, because that person can't move their legs. You need your legs to drive.
Yeah.
They are not in a position to drive, but no one's stopping them. It's just like, go through the procedure, stamp this, hand this in, sign that. So what's the point? And we all know that you could buy a driver's license anyway from some corrupt official.
Yep.
So they're lucky packets.
In fact, these days, in order for you to get your driver's license, you're going to have to pay someone a good 2,000-3,000 rand just so you can get the test. Like, it makes no sense to me, because seemingly, unless you literally lose your mind, I don't see why you wouldn't be able to just keep on driving. It's like riding a bicycle. If you've learned how to do it once, you should be able to do it for the rest of your life.
Yeah. I mean, listen, until you go blind, or, and in any case, I think that you should, as a responsible citizen, go, well, I'm blind. No, I shouldn't be driving.
There you go.
First of all, you kill yourself. And second of all, you'll kill other people. But this is not rocket science.
It isn't.
They apparently have a 2-decades-old printer that is kept at some building in Pretoria. And it has struggled to keep pace with demand over the past few years. The new printer will produce cards faster than the current one. Turnaround from successful application to delivery shortened from 14 to 5 business days. However, the department's use of a single machine at one location has been criticized by OUTA and the DA as an anti-corruption measure. Another card. So I don't know about you. I've got the old green barcode ID, which apparently is the one we have to use for voting. That's the only time that one comes out, I think.
Yeah.
Right? Because it's got a second barcode in it for voting, as far as I know. My old one does. I keep it in the safe most of the time, because then I've also got an ID card. You got one of those?
Nope, not yet.
Okay.
I'm still old school green book.
Okay, so you have the green mamba.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
So you green mamba, you get the card, and then you also have to have a driving license card. And now they want to update the driving license card with all kind of biometrics. And for what? What the CIA is looking for this information?
Like,
on
really?
South Africans?
Oh,
really?
man.
I mean, how long did it take them to track down, Thabo and Nandipa?
Jeez.
And and I'm sure that they had some fake driver's license or ID card or something. They opened bank accounts and all kinds of things. So who are you trying to kid? It's like all this Fika and Rika stuff. Now, anybody who's watching or listening to us this morning, and you've had to apply for a phone, a bank card, home loan, a car, whatever it is that you're trying to do to get your life going, you need to fill in tons of forms.
Yes.
And you could just bullshit through all of those forms. I mean, I always joke that when I drive into one of these estates with someone at the gate and you have to fill in this form, I always put Mickey Mouse.
The honesty book.
Yeah, I lie. I was like Christopher Columbus, right? And then nobody's ever called me from there. I mean, I think they just give it to these call centers who call you up to try and sell you insurance all the time.
Yeah.
I don't know how else that form is any use. I don't think anyone's ever gone back and go, I'm actually quite concerned. We had an incident on the 30th of April. Let me just go and check from 8 years ago. Go through the old book. Why are we filling in all these forms? Why are we participating in this shit? I saw something amazing on the internet this morning that apparently there are now people with paintball guns in London who are shooting paint at the cameras. They've got cameras all over London. You can't move. It's like a surveillance state.
It's the Truman Show.
Big Brother, right? These people want to know where you're walking, whether you're going this way to work or this way. Who's sitting in an office trying to figure out where everyone is walking to work? And is that anybody's business?
They sell you the idea that it's for your safety.
Please.
Because if we're watching everything, we know exactly what's going on. And if someone mugs you or whatever, we'll be able to catch them. It's like, no. You just want to control where we move, how we think, what we do on a daily basis. It's like
paintball guns for cameras in London. Great move. Don't comply with all of these forms. You can actually refuse to fill these things in. You don't have to.
Yeah.
You don't have to participate in all of this information gathering nonsense. If Fika and Rika worked, wouldn't we be able to catch crooks doing illicit things?
At a moment's notice.
You'd know because it would be, the whole point behind any of this stuff is that if someone is committing criminal activities, you can use the records to figure out who they're communicating with so you can get all the criminals. But no one, I don't think in this country anyone's actually using that system to catch crooks.
Not at all.
Right? So then why are they going after ordinary, good, honest citizens? Leave people alone.
Yep.
Stop with all this info. You're ridiculous. Driving me up the wall.
Even when you hear about some of these tax evasion issues, it blows my mind that they wait for someone to have a tax bill that is north of 2 million rand before they do anything. It's like, wait, whoa. Where were you when it broke 50 rand? Like, why did we wait until it got to 2 or 3 million rand? Yeah. Now we have to liquidate his house or whatever the fuck. It's like, what the hell are we doing? Meanwhile, they've got all our information, like our bank accounts, where we work,
so much
where
information.
we live.
Listen,
man.
I had to fill in a form the other day. And I'm sure Pumi said she had to take her son to go and get his ID at 16, first time he's needed, right? Have you ever filled in a form and found that you filled in the same stuff three times in the same
over.
form?
Yeah.
What's your name? You write your name. And later on in the form, what's your name? You're like, she gave me my fucking name. And you need it again. And then third time, then they want you to write it again under your signature. We're like, oh, no, sorry, I just swapped identities. I got an alien to come and sign the last part of the form.
Shit. You should try
Who is looking at all this? Who's processing all this?
You should try changing your surname or adding a name onto Like, that's when you throw them into a tizzy. They're like, they don't know what to do with that.
So we live in this world where you can simultaneously have to fill in 28 forms just to prove that you're allowed to walk this way to work.
Yeah.
But you can decide your gender on a whim. Or decide to change your surname, and it's like much less of a fuss, right?
Yeah.
I really think that we put more effort into all of this bureaucracy than we do into important life decisions. Like, you know what I'm going to do? Today, I'm going to set the following business goals for myself. There are no forms.
None.
There's no long kind of bureaucratic process. Nobody's sitting around doing that stuff. And that's the stuff that would actually make a difference, right?
Mm-hmm.
Instead, people are filling in all these forms. If we got rid of these forms and all of these cards and these IDs and checks and balances, and in South Africa, no one's checking that stuff anyway. If we got rid of all that stuff, you know how much time we'd save.
Jeez.
Huh?
Yep.
Anyway. All right. So good luck to the Department of Transport. I don't really care. And you know what? Frankly, we live in a country where if your driver's license is expired or any of that, so you just cocker.
Yep.
And that's how it works. So let's stop pretending we live in a law-abiding country where, people are so worried about the law, but the government can't enforce the law. So do whatever you want.
Mm-hmm.
Do whatever you like. Look at what we did with the e-tolls. We ignored them. And guess what happened? They eventually had to scrap them.
Yep.
Those gantries on the highway now, I don't know. It's like
they're decorative,
ugly, pointless bridges.
Yeah,
right?
It's like every now and again when you're driving on the highway and
do you
you're
ever drive under those
asleep,
things and think, yeah.
Then the lights.
Instead of wake up sleepy drivers.
There you go.
There's a use for it.
It's. I think it's useful that way.
Oh my
but
God.
Outside of that, they just serve no function whatsoever.
Don't know about this. It seems like it's true. Over the past 5 years, civil servants in South Africa have earned nearly 3 billion in incentives, including performance bonuses and 13th checks. Yes, just think about that quickly.
These the word people, servants doesn't sound right in the story.
No, these are erstwhile masters, right? Yeah.
Yep.
So between 2019 and 2024, just the last couple of years, national departments spent over 726 million rand on staff performance rewards. Show me the government department that's shooting the lights out in South Africa. Show me the office somewhere in Pretoria, which is just performing way beyond expectation. Show me where. I want to meet this. I want to meet one person who got a bonus, and I want to see what they got up to last year or the year before, or the year before that.
I think
just one.
The Minister of Energy and the Minister of Electricity are sharing a generator right now. So I think that's a thumbs up for them.
I'm blown away. So over 3 billion rand in performance bonuses. So
Jesus.
Provincial administrations enjoying the most, public servants accounted for the lion's share of the bonuses. The provinces totaling 2.2 billion over the past 5 years. In 2021, amidst economic stagnation triggered by COVID, 819 million rand was given out as bonuses by the provinces.
Yeah.
Since 2019, nearly 129 million had been paid to about 400 government officials who were on suspension, on full pay. So that means they've done something wrong. They were suspended and they got bonuses.
So it's not a performance bonus.
Well, it's just
just a bonus.
This is just because the minister or the director general, it's like they like you.
Yeah.
You brought them tea one morning.
Yeah.
Whatever. Listen to this part. They've apparently spent over 42 million rand on just 56 luxury vehicles for 23 ministers and their deputies to use for official purposes in Pretoria and Cape Town. I have a very easy solution to this. If you work for the government, from the president right the way down to the lowliest bureaucrat in the lowliest department in Pretoria, you get a Bajaj. You don't get anything more. That is your car. We would solve this problem instantly. The president has a presidential Bajaj. It's a little, we can paint it in fancy colors. We can put a little blue lights on top of it, but it's him and his driver.
That's it.
They can have a Bajaj behind in case that one breaks down.
Sure.
But no fancy cars for government officials. Why should they? We're paying for them.
Yep.
They have the blue light anyway. They get there faster than us. So take the Bajaj.
Well,
save the people money. If you really care about the people, this is a campaign election year. Get rid of your fancy cars, Mr. President.
They'll never do it.
No minister should drive anything but a Bajaj.
They would never do it.
The ministerial bajaj.
Where would they put their smolanyana skeletons in a bajaj? You need space for a skeleton.
I showed somebody who's not from this country a bajaj on, what was it, Sunday night. He just started laughing. He's like, what the fuck is that? He's like, that looks like a wheelbarrow with a lawnmower engine.
Yeah.
I'm like, yeah, that's exactly what we need to give our government officials.
Yep. It's like, here's a forklift with a back seat. Drive that.
Come on.
Have fun.
I think it's a great idea.
I think so too.
42 million rand we wasted on cars for these ministers.
My
Are you
goodness.
kidding me?
A couple
Apparently-
of weeks ago, I saw they posted this thing on X of how many cars and bodyguards, mayors, and all of this shit. Like it grew exponentially. Like a mayor now has got 8 cars. It's like, what are we doing?
What for?
What for?
Okay,
No one is trying to kill you other than people in your party.
Yeah, it's your own people who are trying to kill you.
It's not us. I promise you, it's
You
not
don't
us.
need bulletproof glass and stuff on the highways. The
No.
ordinary citizens are not trying to kill you. They don't even know who you are. If
We
you're
don't care.
most ministers, we wouldn't know most of the ministers if they jumped out of our Rice Krispies and bit us on our titties this morning
Mhm.
at breakfast time. So we're not thinking about you.
At all.
You don't need all these bodyguards and cars and armor and all that stuff. The comment by Arbot, the presidential Bajaj could be tinted with bulletproof windows and upgrade an engine. Maybe, but still only a Bajaj.
Only. Nothing more. Nothing more. In fact, like that level of humility might just teach them a couple of really important lessons.
It would teach them, first of all, because it's slow
Mhm.
and it's not allowed on the highway. They would have to use back roads and they'd have to be up early and they'd have to think, plan ahead. Because if you're a minister or a president and you can't plan ahead, you shouldn't be in government.
You shouldn't.
You have to have a 3-year plan, a 5-year plan.
Yeah.
Let's have an idea of what you're going to do to make the country better. So if you can't even wake up on time to get to your appointment because you have a slow Bajaj, can't take you seriously.
Cannot. Can you believe we're having this discussion about our government officials having to work?
Oh, okay. Good point. Well put. Listen to this. I didn't know, but government employees are guaranteed a 13th paycheck equal to 1 month's salary.
It's a guarantee.
Do you know that it's typically issued on their birthdays?
No, I didn't know this.
Performance bonuses are given out based on the audit outcomes of each employee's department. The Department of Public Enterprise has been addressing the financial issues of state-owned enterprises by allocating 325.3 billion rand for bailouts since 2020.
Oh my God.
I just didn't realize, like, a 13th check, that's guaranteed in government?
Guaranteed.
On your birthday.
Yes.
Okay, so now you know how it really works.
Let me tell you something. The more I find out about the world, the darker it gets. It's terrible. And the idea that then these very people, the very same people, are going to walk amongst us in the next couple of weeks telling us how they've got our best interests at heart.
Big plans.
It's like, if you don't get the fuck out of my face right now, we're going to have a problem. Like a genuine problem.
All right. Very exciting. So
Bloody fools.
I want to talk about your passwords. You know, it's the end of the month. A lot of people have reminders on their phone to say, we got to change our passwords, because you should be doing that. I know most of us, like, you don't change your driver's license every 5 years. You just let it expire. Passwords. I found this amazing graph. James, put this up on screen. Apparently, okay, so take a look at this. This is the time it takes a hacker to brute force your password in 2024. In other words, to be able to hack the password. So if you have 4 characters and they're all numbers, it's instant. Any hacker worth his salt will have your password instantly. And it gets more complicated as you use numbers only, lowercase letters, upper and lowercase letters, upper, lower, and numbers. Numbers, uppercase, lowercase, and symbols is the best. But you have to have more than 4. In fact, the golden area here, as far as I can tell, you only need 29,000 years. I think if you don't want a hacker to break your passwords for 29,000 years. It's a lot longer than you're going to last. That's a good number.
Yeah.
Just use lowercase letters and make 13 of them. Then you'll be fine. Okay? It'll still take him 29,000 years to brute force your password.
Yeah, until you forget your password and you can't even get in anymore.
No, come on. What, you can't think of like 13 letters?
Yeah, I'm sure you could.
Come on, you can think of that. That's not
Yeah.
so bad. All right. I mean, you could go for less. Let's say, I mean, you're not going to live much more than 1,000 years. Okay?
Yeah.
161 years. That's okay. Use numbers, upper and lowercase, and you only need 9 of them. That's 161 years. Come on, that's good.
That's good. I think that's good.
So that's really, I think that's quite reasonable. 9 numbers, upper and lowercase letters, and you'll be good for 161 years.
Yeah, I like those odds.
If, however, you are clever enough to use numbers, upper and lowercase letters, and symbols, and you make it 18 characters long, they will never break your password for 19 quadrillion years.
Jeez Louise. I don't think the world's been around for 19 quadrillion years, so good luck to them.
It hasn't. Yeah, 13 billion years is about the age of the Earth. So if you use 17 lowercase letters, it'll take as long as the Earth has been around.
Yeah.
Going forward for people to crack that. It's just a useful little thing that I saw was published here by Hive Systems, and I thought, okay, we need to know how hard these hackers are working in the background.
Yeah.
We often talk about this stuff with Yaku from Catalytic. He's like our expert on this. And there are lots of people who are employed full-time in companies just to make sure that no one's hacking the system.
Yeah.
So come on, guys. It's not that difficult. You really don't need a 9 numbers, upper and lowercase letters, and you're sorted. They won't bust you. They won't be able to crack your code for the duration of your lifetime. You don't have to keep changing it, but just come up with one good one.
Yeah.
And make sure nobody hears what it is.
Yeah.
You know, like you get those people who write their password on a piece of paper right next to the laptop.
It's like, what are we doing? What is going on? It's like moving into a dangerous neighborhood and not locking your doors.
Yeah, exactly.
It's like, I dare you. Come on.
Imagine getting up at a like, remember in the days of the internet cafe, let's just say a coffee shop, because that's much more what goes on now.
Yeah.
People go to coffee shops and they work from there, restaurants, whatever, sitting there working, and you get up and go to the bathroom with your internet banking open. That's what it's like.
Yeah. You're like, I've got no use for this money. I've got no use for this laptop. Might as well share.
So I thought that would be interesting for us to look at, just because we never think about these things.
Yeah. Very true.
We're going to need to get those green Mamba IDs out for the election. We'll need to use them for voting.
Yes.
Can we talk a little bit about music?
Hey, Gareth.
You've got an issue.
Hey, man.
Jack McClellan has got an issue with music. He's angry. He's concerned that music is going backwards.
It is. And
sound like such an old man, but all right.
Look, I don't care, and I'm gonna say it anyway. Here's my problem, right? I'm gonna read lyrics from Ice Spice, right? Tell me if you believe that we're headed in the right direction when one of the biggest musicians on the planet is saying things like, "You think you the shit, bitch? You're not even the fart."
This is the actual lyrical content.
I kid you not.
Okay.
And
beautiful.
She then goes on to say, "I be going hard. I'm breaking their hearts like bitches be quick, but I'm quicker. Bitches be thick, but I'm thicker. Bitches be rich, Gareth,
but I'm richer."
I'm like, what is going on here?
Hardcore, high level poetry and philosophy going on here.
Oh my goodness.
So what are you concerned about exactly?
Here's my thing.
I'm not sure I know what the problem is. Like, you really think it all needs to be, this needs to be what, Lord Byron's Don Juan?
No, not at all. I grew up in a time where if you were a fan of hip hop, you needed at least 2 brain cells to rub together. Because these musicians used to say things like, I'll leave you in the middle of nowhere like the letter H. See what I mean?
That's smart. I like that. Okay.
Now,
all right,
we are stuck with people like Sexy Red, who says, I'm out of town, thugging with my rounds, my coochie pink, my booty hole brown. Gareth, what are we doing?
That's for real?
That is for real, for real.
My coochie pink, my booty hole brown. Oh, wow. This is masterful. I'm actually kind of intrigued.
I could never.
Tell me more. Tell me more.
Okay, let's keep going.
This is great.
Where the niggas? I'm looking for the hoes. Quit playing, nigga. Come suck a bitch toes. Okay.
I can see someone cutting these out of the show this morning and just spreading them around, saying, "What are these people talking about?
What are they even talking about?" That's I sound crazy just saying these things.
Yeah.
And my problem is the artistry of music is slowly dying. And as a person who makes music as well, like I find it so frustrating because the people that inspired me to actually get into this stuff made music that you could live with, music that could comfort you, music that could make you happy, it could console you. Oh man, it gets worse.
So Tabo says people don't actually listen to Ice Spice. We watch her for her ass, and we don't listen to her on the radio.
That is a lie. Tabo, you're lying. People do listen to this shit, and
but surely, I mean, like these days, you don't even have to be a great lyricist.
No,
you could use Chat GPT, and you could come up with better lyrics than these.
Yes,
and these are like too dumb for AI. That's how bad they are.
It is ridiculous. Wait.
Theodoros says, it's art, you old fart. It's called cloud chasing. I'm not sure whether he's upset with you or me, but Theodoros is very, very much on the side of these lyrics.
Okay, Theodoros, I'm going to put you into the same bucket as these people. I listen, I've got no time for this trash. I've got no time for it.
Give me some more.
Let's keep going. Let me find you another one of these insane things. Taking her man, don't give a fuck, out in the yams, and I'm keeping one tucked. I make some jams, unlock the advance. I said for 100 bands, just do my little dance. It's like, this feels like a child who was asked to write a poem after
a very
being
disturbed child who's worked in a strip club from the age of 3.
And they were taught about Dr. Seuss, and they were like, "Hey, can you write something along those lines?"
Except Dr. Seuss is good.
That's the difference, Gareth. When some thought is put into the stuff.
Tabo says, "True, booty hole can only be brown." And Slippery Pickle wants to know, because you mentioned the yams, was she just saying something about sweet potatoes?
No.
Oh.
So the yams these days is considered ass. All right? It's that ass. That's yams. But still, man, like this is such low resolution thinking. It makes me so mad. Like when I was growing up, there'd be a time where you'd hear a song on the radio and you'd sit there and you'd write the lyrics just so you could understand what was being said. Now it's like these people just walk into the studio and someone says something random and they decide, okay, yeah, that's what we're going to put in the song. My pussy pink, my booty hole brown. Is that what we do? That's what we do. Like, listen to this. I'm out here in Miami looking for the hoochie daddies. So it's no longer hoochie mommies. There's hoochie daddies now. Looking for the hoochie daddies.
Hoochie daddies.
Where the niggas that get the ratchet. My son need a new pappy.
This is great.
What?
I love this. This shows you this very low IQ people in music. I like it because it's low barrier to entry. Anyone can do it. You know, people used to say to me, You used to do that TV show where you judge people singing.
Yeah.
Idols. And they'd say, how do I get into the music business? And I'd say to them, oh, it's so hard. Don't worry. Do something else. Become a teacher or a policeman or a doctor or whatever. Like, we need people with skills.
Right.
We don't need any more musicians. But now, I think actually I should just be saying to them, listen, if Ice Spice can do it, you can do it too. And you don't even need to be talented.
Not
you
at
don't
all.
need to have any skills or talent at all. Just write crap like this.
Go crazy.
Just throw a whole lot of words into a bowl on pieces of paper and just rummage around, pull out a couple of words, put them in a line, and you got a rap song.
That's it. All you need to do is just make sure that they rhyme and you are fine.
There are some terrible, terrible rap lyrics. I mean, you just have to look these up. Your booty is heavy duty like diarrhea.
Oh my God.
No, really?
There was a time I used to think, you know what? Vanilla Ice, I think the world owes you an apology, bro.
Yeah, Shane, we thought Vanilla Ice was the most embarrassing rapper ever. And then we discovered like 90s, 2010s mumble rap.
Oh, my goodness.
And I am a rap fan, so I don't want to say that the genre is bad, because we all know that there's quality.
Yes, there is.
Right, and I grew up very much in love with what Tupac and Biggie were doing. Even before we found out that he was a total pervert, Diddy.
Ugh.
I've got a lot of time for those early rappers. Those guys knew what they were doing. The proto rappers, the guys who really understood how to make great music and could rhyme and had the rap battles, and they were like testing themselves.
Oh,
it was like
goodness.
top line stuff. But somewhere along the way, and I got to give a special shout out to Kendrick, because Kendrick Lamar made sure that there was still quality up to very recently.
Yeah.
But these new guys, I know we sound old,
but wow. Like, I mean, it's just,
Lil
terrible.
Wayne, I'm in the ocean getting shark pussy.
What is
that's just
what's
horrific.
going on here?
I don't know.
Bestiality is a part of the rap
Shark
game. What
pussy?
are we doing? What are we doing?
Okay, got so many chains, they're calling me Chaining Tatum. Drake.
Oh my goodness. Okay.
She eat nut like a burger. She said it's sweet just like nectar. Little yachty. Little yachty.
Yeah.
Do me a favor.
Yeah, like, guys, look, man, you can call us two old men, but the truth of the matter is, we are not going to move society forward with listening to this kind of nonsense.
Just give us the coochie pink, booty brown. Just one more time. Sexy Red sat down and jumped into the depths of her soul and thought this would be the perfect 2 lines for the song. And she said, I'm out of town, thugging with my rounds. My coochie pink, my booty hole brown. Where are the niggas? I'm looking for the hoes. Quit playing, nigga. That's great.
Come suck a bitch toes. You know what, Sexy Red? I would much rather cut your toes than suck them at this point. Okay?
That's so bad.
It is terrible.
Oh, man, that's bad.
Oh, it's terrible.
All right. So excellent work here. Very much a creative pursuit, which is worth continuing.
Yep.
You got more?
No, I don't.
Because I mean, I don't think they have any more.
They don't. No.
I think that is the apex of the creativity that's going to be happening in the rap world of 2024. Just Plain Jared says, man, I miss the 80s. Lyrics were so clean. Well, I'm not saying I have a problem with dirty lyrics, okay? Because I've always liked someone who's pushing the envelope. But make it clever. Make it interesting. Like, give your audience a little bit of credit, right?
Yes. Like,
that's all.
Something as simple as, I don't give a fuck like a Catholic nun.
That's good. That's good.
Come on.
Yeah.
It's not that hard.
Right.
It really isn't that hard. So yesterday, when I decided that this would be one of my talking points today, I legit spent most of last night listening to top quality hip hop.
Oh, good.
Because I needed to cleanse my mind.
What did you have in there? What was in the mix there?
Everything. I had some J. Cole in there, Kendrick Lamar, Tupac, some Biggie in there, Method Man, Redman, a little Eminem in there as well.
Yonder's got a little list of his own. I'll just go over the ones you haven't mentioned.
Yep.
Ice Cube, Master P.
There you go.
Snoop.
KRS-One.
Dre. Eminem, 50 Cent.
Yes, sir.
J. Cole, you said. That's pretty much the list.
Like,
after that, you don't need more than that.
You really don't. There's a song, for those of you who haven't listened to Jay-Z, there's a song called 30 Something by Jay-Z on Kingdom Come.
Mm-hmm.
That is one of the most, in my opinion, one of the most creative, strategic songs I've ever heard in my life. Right?
I'm so glad you read us these brilliant lyrics this morning.
Yeah.
My life has changed forever.
It is.
It'll never be the same.
Right. Because we needed
exciting.
Confirmation that booty hole was brown.
If anybody's feeling like, my life isn't going anywhere, I'm not really getting things done, and I feel like an underachiever, just think about the fact that those lyrics are in an actual song that is popular.
Certified platinum in the States.
There we go. So it's sold enough copies to make Sexy Red? Sexy Red rich.
Yeah.
While you slave away today, while you eke out your existence, Sexy Red is putting bullshit lyrics like that to songs and making a ton of money.
Yep.
You know what? The world's unfair. Where? The world's unfair. Park that big ass truck right in this little garage. Cardi B, genius. She's another genius.
She's another one. That's what WAP or WAP, whatever they call it.
Yeah.
Wet ass pussy.
Right. Beautiful.
It's like, okay, thank you. It's great.
Very good.
Great.
And my stove turned beef to patties, and I ate it because I'm so addict. That's Lil Wayne.
You know what, Wayne? He's also flirting with some of these stupid lines. Like there was some. I mean, this is the same guy that once said, "Picture me like a gallery, capture what I say." I could spend 20 minutes.
You see, that's beautiful. But
I could spend 20 minutes deconstructing that line. But then he turns around and says stupid shit like that. Like, what's going on here?
Can we also mention how words have changed? When I was at school, there was a Mrs. Booty. No one laughed, sniggered, or made fun of her bottom.
None. No one. In fact, when I was growing up, booty was considered a treasure because of these, pirates and stuff.
Right, exactly.
Right?
Yeah, booty. Pirates booty. Okay, listen. We've gone there. We got to take a break. We'll be back in just a moment or two. Democracy 101 coming up next. Don't go anywhere.
This week on the AutoTrader podcast.
And it was raining, it was pouring, literally. So I'm going, everything's fine. All of a sudden, I lose all traction. I'm just sliding. And I was like, what do I do now? What do I do? And I just remembered like Lightning McQueen, really. I was like...
to turn right, turn left.
So I'm like, what would Lightning McQueen do? And I'm turning the opposite direction. And fortunately, I wasn't going, too fast. So it didn't manage to catch its grip again.
Yeah.
And I had the biggest scare of my life because, there's rocks everywhere. And it was just a terrifying experience. I don't know if you've ever been through that.
Catch us every Monday at 9 a.m. on YouTube and on autotrader.co.za.
All right, it is Tuesday, the last day of April, and we're going into the month of voting. We're going into election month, and some people are very excited about this, especially the politicians. You know, it's their time to shine. For most of us in South Africa, it appears people are kind of meh about the election. Only 27 million registered to vote. Most of those old people. But today we're going to talk to someone who is a new first-time voter. Very, very exciting. By the way, Democracy 101 is powered by the Podcast Party, and you can check out podcastparty.co.za for a whole lot of other great shows, including some old favorites like the Tea Health Show. We had Dr. Mark on just the other day, the Brain and Brand Show with Timothy Maurice, and Jack's other show, which he does without me, doesn't need me there, the Middle Child Talks.
Yeah. And an episode is being released today, actually. I had an interesting conversation with Ernst van Sale from AfriForum.
Oh, really? Okay, very good.
Yep.
Today, we're going to talk to a first-time voter. And as part of Democracy 101, we try to figure out what people are interested in, what they need to know, what they want to know, what they don't already know around democracy. And, we use that word like it's some kind of hallowed, spectacular, amazing, godly, sacred thing. It's just a form of government.
Yeah.
But like any form of government, it can be complicated, not only by the people who hold office in that government, by the structures and the various institutions which are created as part of that government, but also it sometimes runs well, sometimes runs very poorly. I think we've got examples of both in the history of South Africa. We were talking about filling in forms and licenses for vehicles and all that kind of thing, which are just a disaster at the moment. But today we're going to focus with a first-time voter on what democracy means to young people. I mentioned just the other day how frustrated I was that so few young people have registered to vote. And hopefully, although I'm not going to make it his responsibility to represent everyone under the age of 21 and who is of eligible age to vote today, but Otsile Nkadimeng is our guest, and Otsile is a first-time voter. It's nice to have you here.
Thank you so much for having me. You guys got a very warm reception.
Thank you, man. Unfortunately, this room is not warm.
Yeah.
You will freeze your balls off in this room.
Yeah.
So, Otsile, it's your first time to vote in this election. Are you excited about it? Are you registered? Are you one of those people who's ready to go and make your mark? And do you care about democracy?
Well, I am registered to vote. As to who I'll vote for on election day, that's still yet to be decided. I think like a lot of people my age who are going to be voting, I'm probably going to make my decision a few hours before. I am doing the research. I'm looking through the manifestos.
You're not just going to throw a dart at a dartboard.
Nah. It's more of a question of who can I trust, because I read through the manifestos. More or less, the parties are promising things that are similar within the same family. It's just a question of a leader I can put the X next to and believe that them and the people I'm sending there.
But you are registered. So, I mean, I'm not going to interrogate who you're going to vote for yet, because as you say, you may still have, and you have lots of time to make up your mind. It's a whole month.
Yeah.
But you are registered, which is already the first step. I know way, way more young people who are not registered to vote and couldn't care less. What do you think's going on there?
I always make the case for at least people my age, born in 2004. For them, it's a very complex analysis, democracy and elections. They don't necessarily have an affinity to a country that works. We've only come of age in an era of politics where South Africa is non-functional. For them, political leadership is not useful at all. These people are not known for doing anything.
So what, they just don't take any of it seriously? They're like, this is not an important thing for me to be participating in.
Yeah, they don't feel that there's any space for them to buy in, any system for them to buy into, to believe that they can get something done for them. I mean, people my age have grown up seeing gift of the givers doing more work than our local municipal leaders or ward councillors, So I think that sort of frames their more or less lack of interest, I'd say, in not voting. I mean, I engage with people my age. I've been trying to get them to register to vote. It's a very tough process because you're fighting what's been a knowledge of politics that's not working at all.
Right.
And I mean, I always say to people, you have to vote with the idea that you know where you're going to.
It's like
where you're going to go 5 years from now.
The way you're describing it, it's like why would you line up at the tuck shop that just gives you shit sandwiches?
Yeah.
Is that kind of, I mean, I'm being very puerile.
Yeah,
But we just did some rap lyrics. So, I'm relating it to really base ideas here.
Mm-hmm.
It's like picking the kid who never did their homework.
Yeah.
Never paid attention in class.
Mm.
Those are the only people that are available now, and you have to make them in charge of the whole thing. It's like you get on a plane and they're your pilot. You want to get off that plane. You want to grab your shit. You want to get off.
Yeah.
That's what we're dealing with in this election now. That's how I think my generation sees it. Majority of them.
Earlier on, you said you're looking for someone you can trust. I don't think that person exists, but that's just my opinion, right?
Yeah.
And I think sometimes we overlook the fact that, as you said, you were born in 2004. From 2004 up until now, I don't think we can blame young people for being so despondent and not really wanting to participate in the electoral process. That makes sense to me. My question then becomes, what solutions can we come up with? Or are you guys thinking that, you'll just figure it out, you'll wing it?
It's sort of a mix of trying to get the best of us to put our hands up and actually be available to run in elections. So I think from 26 onwards, you're going to see a much younger demographic coming forward, because I think presently we understand that if we're not the ones that get involved and do something, we're not going to necessarily see that change.
Right.
And it's also a mix of, we're building the plane as we're flying. I think it's a mix of those two things.
Yeah, I'm worried that you guys aren't even participating, and like it bothers me only because it's going to be your problem eventually.
Yeah,
like it's fine for everybody to be, oh well, young people, I understand they're despondent, and you've explained it, which I'm grateful for, because otherwise we'd sit here for another week saying what is wrong with these young people.
Yeah.
Like you've explained it, and your explanation is not stupid, and I appreciate that. But I really think you taking responsibility is like the easiest thing here. It's like maybe an hour in a queue at most to just go and have your say, and it shouldn't be this complicated. It's like we're not asking you to go into military service for 3 years. It's not like we're asking you to enroll for a degree that you really don't want to do, and you have to spend years of your life putting in this effort. This is so easy. And you're the only one who's registered that I've met between the ages of 18 and 21.
Wow.
So your generation is not doing a good job of showing us why we should even think about them. We should just carry on making policies with no regard for young people.
I mean, I'd say we're engaging in the most unconventional forms. I mean, you go to protests, you go to civic spaces, nonprofits. Majority of them are led by young people, organized by young people. You go to policy consultations with, I do work in climate. So you go to policy consultations with the Presidential Climate Commission when we're talking about money for the just transition. It's young people that are there spearheading a more ambitious way of getting to the transition. So we're engaging in unconventional ways. I think politics, it's very nuanced with politics. It's a mix of we don't trust the leaders. It's also a mix of, positions are being gatekept. Like you said, old ass people are holding positions in power right now. They were relatively young when they came in 94. They got so comfortable they don't want to move from their chairs, and they give young people within their, I'd like to say, their atmosphere, little positions here and there where they can just go and be happy there for a few months and then move them here, move them there, but ultimately not give them the opportunity to be in prominent positions of leadership. So it's also a thing of those who have the power to actually create spaces for young people to be in spaces of influence aren't doing it. So that's also another contributor.
So you do quite a bit.
Yeah.
You are an active young person who's trying to bring about some change. Are you an anomaly? Are you the exception, or are you the rule?
Yeah, because as Yonda says in the comments here, he's like, I'm so impressed with this guy. I thought everybody his age couldn't read.
It's very exhausting being this way. Let me put it this way. I went to an all boys school, JP High School for Boys. Shout out to all the JP old boys watching.
Yeah.
Okay.
I'm a kids boy.
Come on,
I mean, it is what it is. I'm sorry.
Come on.
Hey,
we're just like a few kilometers. You were so close to making the right decision.
No.
So close.
Nobody cares about this at all.
But
is it?
Anyway, I put it to you this way. I was in matric last year. I was the weird kid at school who cared about politics and was the captain of the debating society. So I'd like to say I'm like a minority in my group that is active in this way.
Well, that's why you're on the show.
But,
I mean, if we wanted the dumb kid who's going to embarrass himself, we wouldn't have wanted to have him on the show. We wanted you because you make sense. Clearly, you have thought about these things. But I think Jack's right. You could be the anomaly. You could be the one who is the exception to the rule rather than the rule.
Yeah, I mean, I would say that it's multiple things.
So then let's ignore the rest of the people your age. We just ignore them because clearly they're not willing to participate, and therefore we can write them off.
But I still need to reach out to them. I mean, think about it this way. I'm currently occupied right now with trying to get them to pretty much buy into the system regardless of how hopeless it looks.
Okay.
Because ultimately, it is these next 5 years, economically speaking, that will determine the next 15 years of South Africa's growth, the next 15 years where we will be geopolitically, macroeconomically. And it's in that space, in that environment, that I'll have to begin building my life, buying a home, buying a car, starting a family, something that will determine the rest of my life, you know?
Sure.
And so I need to get them to buy into this because ultimately they'll also be doing the same thing. And so it's finding the avenue from which to do that. That's really where I'm preoccupied.
So let's just digress quickly because you already mentioned it, but you are involved in a climate network called the Sundial Movement. Mm-hmm. Now, whenever I hear people talking about climate, I'm like, oh God, this is like such a nothing. It's such a non-starter. It's like you see these climate protesters all over Europe and North America, and they're the most privileged kids in the world who have nothing to worry about, and they're trying to find their struggle. And I'm like, honestly, there are parts of the world like China and India and Russia and most parts of Africa where we're burning fossil fuels because we don't have an option. And is climate really a big worry to you? Are you genuinely concerned, or is it just a bandwagon you hopped on? Because it's a good bandwagon. You know, the leaders are paying attention to it because God knows they don't have real things to worry about.
I mean, it's a serious issue. The Pew Research Institute, one of the Pew Research Institute or the Lancet Climate Report estimated that by 2050 we could see up to 1.6 billion climate refugees coming from the global south, which is where we live.
But are they climate refugees, or are they just moving to Europe because there are no opportunities in Algeria?
The serious climate refugees, I'm talking there was a time, you could talk to Dr. Imtiaz Suleiman of the Gift of the Givers, he'll tell you about this. There was a time in South Africa where I think it was in the northwest or the Free State, where farmers in that area were unable to produce food because of an extreme drought that was hitting that area. Cattle, crops, everything was going down.
Throughout history.
Yeah, but
you read about the 7 lean years and the 7 fat years in Egypt.
Yeah.
During the time of Joseph.
Yeah, but the frequency to which these extreme weather events happen is becoming more and more closer to each other. And the link towards that is the increase of CO2 in our atmosphere and the heating of the planet, the greenhouse effect in total. So
okay, but we're not actually putting so much carbon dioxide into the air that it is changing the climate. That's just not true. All the CO2 that all the humans and all the cows and all the chickens and all the things that we need is being created. This is just not true. I've got to get you some good literature because you're smart enough to be persuaded and to persuade other people that this is just like a non-starter. If you're really, don't get me wrong. What I admire about you is that you are one of those people who clearly is interested and curious about how you can make the world a better place. I don't think that you're being disingenuous about that at all.
You're right.
And I love that. I'm not here to argue with you about climate, but all of this stuff is just it's such low-hanging fruit for somebody who's as clever as you, could be making a big difference. And I think you are in things like politics and trying to get young people to think about that stuff. This climate thing is just like such a non-thing, especially for us. We need all the cheap energy we can get in this country. Mm-hmm. We already have a shortage of energy. We can't keep the lights on.
Yep.
And now we're going to worry about solar panels and wind turbines and hydroelectric dams that we aren't building when we should be burning coal, man. Burn, burn, burn. And drill for oil. Drill, drill, drill.
No.
Keep it simple. Stupid.
No. If we kept it the way it currently is, I mean, right now we put out 162 million tons of CO2 in the atmosphere.
South Africa does.
No, the globally.
I was going to say.
Yeah. No,
maybe
but South Africa,
Welkom on its own.
Yeah.
Maybe Welkom and Middelburg. But in Malahleni, the place of coal, right?
Yeah.
But the rest, I don't see that happening.
But like
to the extent that
162 million tons of coal, not coal, of
Carbon
CO2
dioxide.
every single year is the
Which
highest.
the plants
Is the
love,
highest
by
everywhere.
the way.
No, but it's not enough for the plants to take in. I mean, we're talking about
Who are we
excess
killing?
CO2.
Who are we killing?
We are killing people who live
Which
in
ones?
countries.
People die mostly of cold, not of heat.
No, people die of the impacts of extreme weather events. Go to KwaZulu-Natal, which has been hit by how many weather events in the
Floods.
last floods?
Yeah.
How many floods in the last 10 years?
How
has
does-
KwaZulu-Natal
so how-
suffered?
Hold
Not
on,
just
no.
KwaZulu-Natal,
You
but
brought
I'm
up
talking
floods.
about,
So how does CO2 lead to floods?
well, CO2 ultimately warms the planet through the greenhouse effect. And what that does is it creates climate imbalances. So those climate imbalances change effectively, let me put it this way. When the planet is warmer, oceans become warmer. So water
More
vapor,
evaporation.
more evaporation is collected. Storms are able to collect more bodies of water, meaning that when those bodies of water turn into ultimately what we saw in KwaZulu-Natal, the superstorms, when they hit areas, we see those extreme floods coming in, destroying infrastructure. We see cities sinking.
The worst flood we've ever
We
had
see
in this
glaciers
country was in
rise.
Langsberg in like the Karoo, but I don't know, 100 years ago or something. And we did not have massive power stations at that stage.
Right.
And there are floods recorded in history. I mean, like Noah's flood, where no one was burning fossil fuels. And I mean, even if that's just a nonsense biblical story, there are actual written records which we can rely on from the last 100 years that prove that actually things are less dangerous climate-wise now. Yeah, there are less tornadoes. There are less people dying in floods and fires. There are less people dying of cold and heat than at any other point in our history. It's just nonsense. I think this is something that's been made up by like the countries in the European Union to try and get there. I'm telling you, you can see the evidence of this.
I mean, the studies I read by Nobel-winning scientists, the Intergovernmental Panel on Climate Change, people who literally do this for a living, and by the way, literally, if they are wrong on this, they stake their entire reputation on it.
Right.
The data I see is that this is a real phenomenon. The data I see tells me that famines...
Here's death from floods. I mean, this is what I've just been able to pull up now. Right? Do you see those lines? Those are deaths from floods. Do you see where they're going? You see where these lines are heading? These lines are going down.
I can pull up similar graphs.
That's only 1995. Okay.
Now,
The number of deaths, look where we're at. Low to middle income, very few deaths. High middle income, even less deaths. Global average, down.
But no, okay, so those are impacted by similar...
Do you have your own graph?
I have entire presentations
I feel like I'm in the middle of a show and tell right now.
So people that want to see this...
Global surface temperature.
Yeah, this is a direct correlation between the increase of CO2 in the atmosphere and the rise of the planet's overall temperatures.
But
and how we know that that's
hotter?
true.
We want it hotter.
How hot do you want it, Gareth? Where farmers aren't able to produce food and we see famines like we saw in Sudan and in Somalia earlier in 2023, and people are unable to produce food.
32 is a good temperature. And
32?
we didn't get there enough this summer. Bring the 32. Listen, personally, that's what I want. And at night, I want to turn on the aircon and burn all those fossil fuels so that I can keep it about 20.
Well, the impact of that ultimately is what we saw in Cape Town.
When
we saw
like a
forest fires?
Forest fires in
What is that? Heat? What is that?
Those were the fires that hit Table Mountain in 2021.
Those were vagrants who set fire to the mountain.
No, Gareth.
What?
Okay, how about the fires that hit New South Wales in Australia? Do you remember those in 2021? Those were caused by incredible heat that was attributed to climate change that the government themselves conceded to.
I'll tell you why Australia burns, because it's flammable as fuck. Have you seen what kinds of eucalyptus trees?
It's hot and dry there. But
everything in Australia burns. Even koala farts are flammable.
But I mean, my question is this.
Yeah.
Are you the things that you're pointing to now, like the forest fires and all of these things, the alarm bells that you're sounding now, are they because of the frequency of these things, or the intensity of them. Because to my understanding,
propaganda.
I mean, look, I'm not against you at all. I'm just saying, like Gareth, as you can tell, is passionate about this. I couldn't be bothered.
I'm not even. I'm just saying,
like,
I know we're going to be fine. None of this climate stuff.
I'm genuinely of the opinion that we'll be fine.
Clauser, okay, the guy who won the 2022 Physics Nobel Prize. He says, I can very confidently assert there is no climate emergency. My message is to young people especially, and I'm trying to put your mind at ease here, because you shouldn't be worrying about the future. You should be excited about the future. We need brilliant minds like yours making the world a positive and better place with your good ideas. These are shit ideas. I'll tell you why. He says, my message is the planet is not in peril. CO2 and methane have negligible effects on the climate. The policies governments have been implementing are totally unnecessary. Look him up. John Clauser, 22 Physics Nobel Prize winner. I'm not saying you're in any way stupid, but you're not as clever as him.
The people who I reference are people who are far more...
Like what, Imtiaz Suleiman is handing out food and...
No, well, he's an example of someone who can speak to the physical impact of climate change on the ground.
No, he's a fundraising NGO.
Then there's John Hansen, there's Friedrich Otto, there's Sylvia Errol, there's Peter Klaus.
I don't know who these people are.
These are renowned climate scientists.
Bjorn Lomborg. You heard of him?
Pierre Lombo.
Bjorn Lomborg.
Bjorn Lombo. No, I haven't heard of him.
You haven't heard of him?
Gentleman.
He's written an incredibly useful, insightful book where he's compared actual data based on what the climate claims are. And he's debunked all of it. Now, you're a smart guy. I'm going to give you this book as a gift. Right? You're 18. Is that right?
2004, 19.
19. You're a hugely impressive 19-year-old man.
Yeah.
Okay. I want people like you to inform the policy of the next generation, because I'm not going to go and stand for office. You've been meeting the president and all this stuff, very impressive stuff, which I don't doubt for a second you have earned the right to do. I want to give you better information, because I think this is such a dumb fight. This is like using your great brain to go and work on Tupperware parties rather than getting out there and doing things that can make the world
that
better
actually make a difference.
Like, I think it would be a waste. It would be a waste. It would be like me saying to you, I'd like you to write an essay on talcum powder. It's a waste of your brain. I got things that... let me give you this book. Afterwards, we have another conversation.
All right.
Let's move on from climate.
Fine. I was actually going to ask that we do that.
I'd invite Professor Colleen Vogel, who does a lot of climate studies and someone who actually turned me on to this crisis.
You bring her with you next time.
Yeah,
I'll tell you what,
about this
are the first guest. I'm going to give an open invitation to you. You can come anytime you want. You tell me which day you can make it. You bring whichever of these climate friends of yours you want to bring. I'm happy to have them. Yeah. I'll bring some too.
But just as a fact, climate change is real, and we should be concerned about it.
It's real, but it's not important.
And we must deal with it. It is a serious thing. It is a serious
I'm just
thing.
saying, like, ever since the planet has been here, the climate has been changing in variety
and
of
humans,
ways. And
it's only dangerous for us, and we're not the most important thing here. The planet will be fine.
It will be fine. We're just worried that we won't have a little corner to live in. But anyway, let's change gears.
Let's worry more about the potential thermonuclear war in Russia and Ukraine.
There you go.
That could be a lot bigger a problem than a couple of breaths or car farts.
No, let's talk about something we all can agree on. Perhaps something like, I don't know, politics.
Yeah, we got a great record in this country to agree on politics.
So, dude, you started this really cool thing that's called So We Vote. Sorry.
Yeah.
What was the thought process behind that?
So, it was started, the idea came up to me with a friend who was a part of Sundial because he believed in climate change back in 2022 in December. We felt that the country was at a place where we needed something that would help young people feel at least incentivized to vote.
Okay.
Something that would help guide young people's votes. We felt that currently the way the whole political process works, it's not made for my generation. These people go on TV, they go on radio, they use formats that my generation, I don't know anyone under 21 that owns a DSTV, honestly.
Okay.
No. So the way politics has been working, the way parties advertise themselves to people, it's made for the older generations. It's not made for us. The way manifestos are written.
Where do you want them? On TikTok and on Instagram? And
social media.
Sure.
I mean, they do it horribly, but the ones who are there, at least they're trying, but they do it horribly. We want them there where we can reach them on our platforms. Ultimately, they must come to us because they want our votes. But we also felt that the way manifestos are written, because you need to understand a manifesto, that's the mandate you're giving someone to go govern with. They have to respond to that. The way they're written, it's just not accessible. So we needed to break it down.
What do you mean by that? What do you mean by that? Because on the one hand, someone can say, you guys, as a generation, did not put a premium on education. You didn't really care to put in the work. So when a document like a manifesto is put in front of you, you won't be bothered to read the damn thing. Or on the other side, it's just so complicated that even people that do have somewhat of a sound mind can't get through it. Is it a question of your laziness, or is it a question of,
and by the way,
unnecessarily complicated documents?
And again, Otsile, this is not something we're expecting you to answer on behalf of all
everyone.
young people.
Yeah.
We're just trying to figure it out. And certainly in terms of laziness, I don't think this applies to you, but I think it's a good question, because it's always like, but you didn't bring it to us. You didn't bring it on a silver platter. So I didn't have to get up from the couch. And you should put it down in front of me and ask me if I'd like some more. And then maybe I'll consider voting for you.
See,
like a bit of effort. Because, I mean, there are a lot of young people in this country who are just meh.
Yeah.
They don't have any, they can't even get up and learn to spell properly. And now they want to tell the politicians, no, you must come to me and deliver to me on TikTok, because that's the only, I couldn't be bothered. Oh, my arm's so tired. I can't scroll. Oh, can't you just like feed it into my brain directly?
Yeah, and mind you, we're playing devil's advocate. Like there are people like you who are willing to do something about it, but there are others that just want to sit there and have the world.
Are they the majority, or are you?
We're not a homogenous group, so I can't say that this is necessarily the trend for all young people. I mean, it depends on multiple factors. It depends on where you were educated, depends on where you stayed, depends on your economic disposition right now. Depends on how you interact with politics.
Or just how lazy you might be, as Jack said.
Yeah, but I mean, do we really have the luxury of laziness right now?
Yes, so many people are lazy as hell. Have you seen how many people are just taking drugs and sitting around doing nothing?
I mean, are they unemployed?
Well, I don't know. They're sitting around. You drive around any of our towns, townships, CBDs, business areas now. You'll see people just sitting around. You people your age. You're not, but they are. You don't have to stand up for them. Just say, yeah, it's true.
I mean, generally, I want to believe that there are young people like me who do care in this country, because as much as we're not a homogenous group, there are those who care. When it comes to manifestos, let me actually answer that one before we get to this point.
Good. Cool.
I mean, the way they're written is that even an adult who is not by any means a lazy person can open it up, go to the website, try read it.
Boring. Hey?
It's more than just boring. Does it give you an indication of day one of governing? This is the issue that lands on their desk. This is how they necessarily respond to it.
Right.
The way we interact with parties is we read the manifestos at So We Vote. We read them. And then we go through them and we say, okay, I'm not getting what this practically means in implementation.
Okay.
So then we contact the parties and we say, here's a document. We've cited all of the things that we want you to give us practical examples of what does this mean in implementation, so that we can then translate that into our infographics.
Do they reply to you?
They do. Well, some do. Others we're still waiting for. I want to call them out. VF Plus, we're still waiting for our document. ACDP, MK Party, Action SA, PA. You guys,
well,
you
maybe,
want us
maybe
to cover
the list
you.
of, maybe
Come
the
on,
list
please.
is better if you go tell us who did reply.
Oh, Rise Mzansi, the ANC, the Democratic Alliance, Build One South Africa. We reached out to Zaki Ahmed. We wanted to cover an independent, so he's the first one we've reached out to. They've responded. There's probably others that
I think
that's
that is useful information.
That is very useful.
Now we can also see which political parties are taking ordinary citizens and especially young people seriously. I'm pleased to hear that. That's good. Power to those parties that did get back to you.
Thank you.
So you get all of this information, you put it together, and then you kind of deconstruct it and then give it to the people that I don't know, follow you on Instagram, or how does So We Vote actually work? So the vision for it is that we would have networks across schools in South Africa. I'm talking high schools and university institutions. High schools, we want to do civic education work. Universities, we'd also do civic education work, but we also help guide the political discourse there. That was the vision. We don't have any money. We're a bunch of broke first years who just are very good at Canva.
That's pretty much so we vote. If you go to our Instagram, you'll see that we're very good at Canva. But what we do is we just put out the information on channels where we can do it for free. So that's Instagram. We're trying to breach into TikTok. We send them out on Twitter. I'm sorry for the older folk, but we don't do Facebook.
No, that's okay. That's okay.
But that's where we
I think that is extraordinarily laudable. I think it's really good that there are young people who are actually standing up, making a difference. Even if you guys are just good on Canva, you're already 100 points ahead of most of the people. As you say, even the adults, older people who don't read these manifestos. They don't even interrogate any of this stuff.
Not at all.
What matters to you, though, as a voter? Like, what kind of stuff would attract you? You don't have to give us the parties. Yeah. What sort of policies, what sort of positions would make you go, you know what, that I'm in for? And if 3 or 4 parties are all agreed on that thing, then I would vote for any one of those 3. What stuff matters to you?
Climate change.
Okay, cool.
The economy. I think the economy is very much up there for a lot of young people because it ultimately.
But what does that mean? Like when you say the economy, an economy that's growing,
an economy that grows and creates jobs, and also is fair to people who are earning more or less a working wage in this country. So people who aren't working just to pay off their debts and then have nothing left at the end of the month. An economy where I can earn something and still have a little bit left after to save up, to build a better life for myself.
We want prosperity as well.
Prosperity as well. I want a comprehensive healthcare system in this country. NHI is a great idea in principle. The way it's going to be implemented, I don't think it's going to be implemented very well, but I think that needs to be reworked. What's another thing? I think land, for me in particular, it's a very big issue for my generation.
Sure.
Land is a very, very big
What
issue.
about land? Like, because, I mean, we all want to own property. We all want to be on the property ladder. We want to have something to borrow against. We want to know that this is our little piece of the pie that we can make into something, that we can improve, that we can grow food on or whatever.
Yeah.
You probably don't want to grow food, though, because that could add to the climate change problem.
You could grow food in a way that does not contribute to climate change. And,
wheatgrass.
No.
What are you going to grow? Because most of those crops are going to use quite a lot of fertilizer.
You know what? Gareth is like a dog with a stick right now.
No.
If you rotate,
okay, but land.
Yes.
So let's just talk about that.
You could do it very, very well. And there's lots of studies on that. Go to Climate Reality Project. You'll see a lot of those.
Okay, let's talk about the
Their
land.
land. Let's talk about their land.
So here's the way I see it. I'll admit, I care for the environment, but I probably would make a piss poor farmer. I'm just not good.
So would I.
I'm not good there. But I'm talking land in the form of redistribution, especially in urban areas, giving people who don't have access to land in urban areas, who are urban-based and probably would not go back to far-off rural sites where there's vast amounts of land, access to land opportunities here in urban areas so that they can actually build a foundation. One of the advantages my family has is that when my family is part of the struggle, my grandfather is part of the struggle. When we returned, he obviously was able to serve the state, and he did it damn well back when leaders could actually be trusted.
Sure.
And because of that, he was able to leave a legacy behind in the form of 2 homes that now my family can depend on as streams of income that rent it out. So that creates economic opportunities within the family, creates access to capital. I think that if more people can have access to something like that, just as an example, I'm speaking from my personal example of how land and ownership of property has been very useful in my specific situation. And if more South Africans could have something like that, a foundation or a legacy to leave behind like that, I think it would be much better. And that's the crux of the argument. Not everyone wants to go and take Oom Piet's farm in some forgotten little town.
I think those sports fields at Jeppe could be quite useful to young people who'd want to have some land to farm.
Yeah.
It's urban. We don't have a lot of space, so we got to take what we can get. And you know what we'll do? We'll take Kez's land as well.
Yeah. Why not?
You also went to an old boys school.
I did not.
You didn't?
I went to government, Model C. Nothing fancy there, but I don't have a problem with you guys going to much, much better schools, and they are. I think, in fact, it's essential that we up the quality of education across the board.
Yeah.
Because I know that a good education provides us with more Otsiles than it does like people who are sitting doing nyaupe in the street. But I am concerned that this land thing, again, just like the climate thing, is there's a lot of bad information out there, and a lot of the stuff is being sold on the basis that it's bound to trigger an emotional response.
Yeah.
So I looked at this the other day. Back in 1989, we had 120,000 white farmers. Today, there are 32,000. There are 28,000 black farmers. The ANC government and the government is the largest owner of land in this country.
Yeah.
So we need to figure out what to do with that land for starters, because a lot of it's just sitting. Obviously, arable land is different from, open. Who wants a huge 3,000 hectares of the Karoo where you can't do anything with it?
Yeah, it's pointless.
So obviously, we've got to look at that too. And we've got to also look at, I heard someone say the other day, blacks own 4% of the land, which is nonsense. It's just not true.
It couldn't, just numerically speaking, that just doesn't make sense.
If you just in KwaZulu-Natal look at the land that the Ngonyama Trust owns, that's more than the government owns in KwaZulu-Natal.
Yep.
And that's not owned by the king. It's meant to be owned by all of the people and managed by the trust. So we've got to look at these things and be sensible about them. But I don't disagree with you. I think if you have land, you have the ability to borrow against something. You have the ability to rent that land out to someone if you don't want to farm it yourself, or if you want to let someone else live there. And I think for most people, they just don't even have a toehold on the economy because of this. I think it is an important thing. I also think that, we've got to look at the kind of leaders that we're electing at the moment and stop electing them based on their character, charisma, ability to make a speech, whether we like them or not, and actually do what you're doing, which is to look at the policies. Say them, what's your example here for this? Everything you said, by the way, about the economy, I'm totally on board with too. Because if we want to have a country where people can live in a dignified way, they need to have prosperity and growth, job opportunities. And so many young people are also disenchanted and feel completely disconnected from things because they can't get jobs.
Yeah.
If you don't have jobs, how are you meant to have dignity there too? You can't bring home the bacon if you have no bacon.
Yeah. And you certainly can't have any optimism while,
Sure.
It's more than that.
Going on.
It's also just about waking up in the morning and having purpose. Think about people who don't have purpose in the morning when they wake up. What is it that drives them to still be a part of society? You can't have a country where people wake up, millions of people wake up every morning just being.
We are all facing an uphill battle because a lot of us have become, I don't know, for the lack of a better term, very cynical, right?
Yeah.
It seems as if that, I don't know if it's the culture that has been developed because of the political leaders that we've had in this country, where even when something great happens in the country, the first thought that goes through a lot of our minds is, I wonder how they're going to use this to make money off of it somehow, right? We were talking about these new driver's license cards. Like the moment I heard that, I was like, there's a Tinderpreneur somewhere in the background ready to make a couple of millions, right? How do you think we could possibly start changing the views of South Africans as far as, the culture of this country is concerned? Like the bribing of Metro police officers or police officers themselves, where someone does something criminal against you, and you get that person arrested, their family member shows up with 10,000 rand, all of a sudden the docket is missing. Those kind of things. Do you have any opinion about our culture as a country at this point in time?
I think, and I said this on one or two occasions, that corruption that leads to that type of endemic type of mismanagement of the state starts at the top and it trickles down. Because ultimately when the hammer has to land, the hammer has to come from the top down. So when you see ministers behaving in ways or taking money in ways that are completely unethical, then obviously the person who would have to hold you accountable themselves are compromised. And so then it trickles down like that until the officer you interact with wants a Coca-Cola to let you go. And so therefore, I think that the solution starts with trying to get accountability from the top and then showing that the hammer can land from the top going down. I think that can sort of shock the system. As far as the sense of cynicism goes, I think, when we've seen as much damage as we've seen in the short amount of time we've seen it, I think people become traumatized and conditioned to believe that nothing good can happen anymore. I think that ultimately you become what your environment creates you. If your environment is one where you're used to constant just destruction, degradation, poverty, mismanagement, corruption, lack of trust or faith in not just your leaders but your fellow South African,
you're bound to give up.
Then that's bound to be your reaction. Then it falls on those of us who genuinely believe that things can get better, to try re-inspire people to think that South Africa can get better. I mean, I speak to people who live in other countries. By far, we are not the worst.
Oh, for sure.
And we still have a lot of room to recover.
But, okay, let's see. I don't expect you to solve all of the problems. That would be, first of all, it would be such a dereliction of duty for us to say to you at 19, okay, here, solve the problems.
Yeah.
But do you have any intention of going into politics? I mean, what are you studying, and what would you like to do with your life?
That question follows me everywhere. It's sort of like,
well, you probably ask it yourself more than anything else.
I ask it myself because other people say it to me. But I personally currently studying a Bachelor of Commerce in Law because I want to do something business related, but I've always had an affinity to the law. I know there's a lot of law students. I've heard you on one or two occasions say people should not be studying law in this day and age.
No. I just think we've got a lot, but you're the kind of mind we might need there.
I want to go more or less the business route because I think that a lot of businesses in South Africa are going to need more socially minded executives or people in the space there that can bring a lot more CSI, ESG initiatives to grassroots level, help communities on the ground, and actually create a different type. You'll see a lot of my generation is socialist.
Which is outrageous. I mean,
it's shocking.
It
really is. It's so shocking.
There's no red scare here. Let's not red scare.
Why don't all those socialists, as I said yesterday on the show, just all put everything they have into a basket and share it out among themselves as an experiment? If they get that right, they can fiddle with the rest of the country. Don't you think? That's not an impractical thing to start with. From now on, I'm just going to say to socialists, all right, if there are 5 of you in a room, all of you put everything you have, whatever value, contracts for properties, your car, everything, put it in, and we distribute those equally among you socialists. And then when you get that right, you can tell the rest of us how to live.
The point I was getting to it.
No, you don't think that's a good idea? You think that's a horrible idea?
Listen, you're a politician, whether you like it or not, bro.
I'm not I don't have the mandate to speak on their behalf. I don't have the mandate to speak on a lot of people's behalf. But I'll say this. The reason I speak this way about what I want to do with my career is because I think that, particularly in a country like South Africa, we're going to need more leaders in corporate who think the way I do and who can actually navigate these big institutions which have a lot of good, talented people and a lot of resources and access to opportunities to work in the way that I think that we should work. And that is focusing a lot more on community-based issues, not just for the hype, but for the actual impact.
That's not what business is for.
No, business can be for that as well. There's a concept called conscientious capitalism.
Fine, fair enough. But you do know what business is for.
Yeah, it's for profit, ultimately. I mean, obviously, I own shares in companies through easy
what government should do? Why is business suddenly doing what parents should do?
No.
Why is business suddenly giving mental health classes to people because they've had a traumatic experience? If I start a business, I don't want any of that. I want to be able to make money. I want to pay people properly. That's it. The rest is up to them. I'm not there to sort out all the problems in their lives.
But you need to do that in an environment that is conducive to that type of growth. And if government is derelict in its duty,
so government is derelict in its duty. Don't expect the private enterprise then to step in where government is fucked up.
I mean, no, but they are already. I mean, just a few kilometers from where we are, we have Discovery. I see all of these Discovery vans around the country patching up potholes. They see an opportunity there to actually reduce risk for their consumers.
I think they're doing it because they insure people's cars and they're tired of paying
out.
So there's a benefit for them to do that. And the overall benefit is that the roads are safer for general South Africans.
But so you said ESG. So we're talking environmental, which I understand. We're not going to go there again. And social governance. So what kind of policies do you feel like business should be implementing that they're not, that you as a business leader would be able to bring in and start to make part of what businesses do? Conscientious capitalism. What would you like to see there?
Well, there are businesses that are doing it, but I think that the scale to which it's happening is not significant enough
Doing
for
what?
positive impact. So you look at companies like, let me go with Investec and what they're doing with renewable energy projects. I'm talking community-based renewable energy projects. Those projects are incredibly great. I mean, you get communities that have access to solar, which we won't touch.
No, I think it's great. I've got solar.
And
I think the more of us can get off the grid, the less of us will give money to Eskom, the less money the government gets out of us. I'm all in favor of that.
Right.
Yeah.
I love that idea.
So then you'd also love the just transition, which takes money directly from the funders to entities that will implement it, not touching Eskom's balance sheet. It's a very good
Lovely.
policy.
I'm in favor.
Yeah, but policies like that, projects like that can be increased at scale. So I'm talking communities like a few kilometers from us here in Alexandra, where they are tapping into the grid. One, because there's no service delivery from the state to actually give them access to electricity. Not that it would exist even if they brought it there, but opportunity for them to be completely off the grid, gain electricity, and also sell excess energy back to the grid for a profit, a credit.
Ooh,
as
Gwede
Eskom does
Mantashe
it.
is not going to like you.
Not at all.
He doesn't like me already. what gave you the impression that he liked me at all?
Uncle Wheezy.
He and I are on,
Quizzy.
are on polar opposites. I mean, he's indicative of a style of politics that is far gone, and his style of governing is just completely
Don't worry, he's
inconsistent
not
with the way
he's not
South
awake.
Africa is.
And it's
He's not
so
awake.
interesting.
He's not
He'll
awake
be a
this
cabinet
early. so
minister
don't worry.
for another 5 years, assuming his specific faction still maintains authority. Maybe we can get into that later on.
You know, like I want to understand your well, as you said, young people are attracted to socialism. Why is it that you guys feel that things should be fair?
He didn't say him.
No,
Don't
not
say you guys.
Yeah, I'm not sorry. Well, I'm not.
You're gonna get me
again,
kicked out of boardrooms.
No, I'm
Jack.
sorry, but like at the same time, I'm again. Gareth mentioned it earlier on. We're certainly not asking you to answer for all the young people in this country, but you said it yourself that there is an attraction to socialism.
Yeah,
I want to understand where that comes from, because if you can point to one country where socialism has actually worked,
Even a
Then-
little bit.
yeah, then we can have the conversation. What is it about socialism
Well,
you
no,
think
let's start off by
that is
asking,
attractive?
are you one of those people? Because if you are, then you can answer that. Otherwise, we
Sure.
don't have to force him to answer.
Yeah, we
it.
don't. Yeah.
yeah.
The thing is, once you said it, like, you know, young people are always telling us that they're triggered and traumatized. That so the term socialism triggers and traumatizes me, which is why I want to know what is the attraction.
You know, I'd like to think that the attraction is what you said exactly. We're looking for fairness in a system, and I think that, I mean, though socialism has not succeeded, I think those who are the strongest proponents of it argue that where have we seen in a modern 21st century democracy that's capitalist, have we seen people, the workforce, share in the profits of the company? People's lives get better because of
Well,
it.
right here,
We
we created the largest new middle class in South Africa after 1994, largely because we expanded business and the bureaucracy and employed a lot of Black people into that who became middle class rather than working class. And there are families who are now the product of that. So here, or you could go to China, because it certainly wasn't communism that took China into a position where they had growth and where they pulled people out of abject poverty. That wasn't communism. That was capitalism in places like Shanghai and the manufacturing parts of China, Guangzhou, or whatever, however you pronounce the place. And then America is the obvious example. The world has been pulled out. No, it's not the best.
It's not about being the best.
Good example.
We're talking about
It's
examples.
a damn sight better than Venezuela or Angola or Cuba or any of these places where people wear Che Guevara t-shirts and think that they're standing up for fairness. There's no those countries that have implemented socialism have almost invariably had to do social engineering in order to achieve these things, and they've therefore killed many thousands, if not millions of people.
Millions of people.
If you're going to defend that on the ground of fairness, then I will speak on behalf of the dead people if you won't and say that's not fair for them
At all.
I mean,
I'm sorry.
I'm not defending this, but what I'm saying is that, but even in countries like those, I mean, you saw what happened in Chile, where there was a socialist government that was more or less on the pathway to success, but was sabotaged by states like the United States, Henry Kissinger,
only
projects
time I
like
really
that,
liked
Cuba,
Chile, the only time I really liked
Venezuela.
Chile was when
Those countries are sabotaged.
The best time for Chile, if you ask me, was when they were throwing people out of helicopters because they were communist.
That is a very
Under Pinochet.
problematic.
Under Pinochet, that was the best time.
That
In fact,
was so
I'm going to
dark.
have a bunch of
Problematic.
T-shirts made with like.
Jesus, that was dark.
Yo, chief,
Yo, I didn't think we were going to go that route,
That
but
is
that was dark. Anyway,
very
listen, bro.
problematic, but
Here's
yeah.
what I'm saying.
Yeah,
Like,
I need to
of
answer
all-
your question.
Yes, of all the governing systems that have come to the fore in the history of humanity, what I have seen personally is that capitalism gives people the best opportunity to make something of themselves.
He knows that's why he's going to business.
Right? And
He knows
so
that. He's just
it-
saying
it-
he says one thing and does another, which
it-
I
it
did when I
blows
was
my
young
mind.
too. I did that when
Yeah.
I was young.
It absolutely blows my mind
Yeah.
when I hear someone as articulate as you. And I know you did not use the word socialism out of context. You use that word specifically. It blows my mind that young people in this country firstly think that the world is somehow fair. It's never been for anybody, right?
This is about the
And-
fairest it's been is right now.
Right now, right? And secondly, that
Because
somehow
we're burning
socialism,
fossil fuels to make it fair for poor people to have energy.
like
That's why it's fair.
socialism somehow
Khayelitsha doesn't have
an-
electricity, neither does Nyanga or Alexandra, so I don't know where the coal
Those
we're
are
burning's going.
small
Yeah,
parts
sure.
of a very big world. India and China, who we'll refer to again a number of times in this conversation, are only pulling their populations out of poverty because they can give those people, poor people, energy. And it's working for India. A lot of the smartest people who are coming out of education institutions all over the world and making the biggest difference are coming out of India and China. And they're coming out of there because they can actually keep themselves warm in the winter.
Yep.
And they're doing that by burning that coal that you're so opposed to. But
It's energy.
let me
it's
wrap
just
this up.
creating
Yeah.
energy.
Let me wrap this up
Because now it feels like we're attacking
You know what?
you all of a sudden.
I-
we wanted to hear your
I have
thoughts.
to compliment you.
Okay.
We did not give you an easy ride this
Yeah, we
morning.
didn't.
And we're not going to patronize you and treat you like, a kid and talk down to you like most people who would try to be friendly and sweet on most mainstream media outlets. Give you, pander to you, say to you,
Yeah.
"Oh, you've done so well. You're so clever." We
You're
did
such
say
a
you're
good
clever,
boy.
and you
Here's
are.
a naughty badge.
But we gave you a proper go this morning because I actually think you got some homework to do on some of these subjects. There are gaps.
And
And
you've given
If-
us
if I
a bit
could-
of
if I
homework to
could
do as
give
well, truth be told.
full length answers, then you would get those
And
gaps
that's
that are
again, life's
existing
not
there.
fair. You're not going to get to do that. But you got
Yeah.
to demonstrate to us sufficiently that
Yeah.
you're one of those people who's going to make this country a better place.
Yep.
I feel that way. I feel like the things that you've said make me very, very positive and optimistic about the future.
Mhm.
The kinds of involvement that you have in organizations that you are fronting and that you're very much directly a decision maker in, whether I agree with the climate change agenda or any of that stuff, it's completely unimportant. You are doing these things. You're actually making the moves. You're not just sitting and talking. I think that's excellent.
Mhm.
And Otsile, I have all the time in the world for you. I said you have an open invitation. We've never given that to a guest before. Come back anytime you want. Bring people who will argue with us. Bring people who will agree with us.
Mhm.
We're happy to talk to you anytime.
Yeah.
I feel like Charlie with the golden ticket now.
You have
Yeah,
got to
you
go.
are.
Dude,
Yeah.
you earned it.
Yeah.
I really thought, okay, we're going to talk about, someone who's going to vote for the first time and he's all excited and he's already decided which party to vote for. And he thinks the world is a very easy to understand, simple, uncomplex,
Mhm.
binary place. And
Yeah.
you didn't. You persuaded me that you've thought about a lot of these things.
Yep.
All I'm saying is I'm going to give you more to think about.
Yeah.
And hopefully the next time we meet, we can have more arguments because I love this.
Yeah.
I want to argue with people like you.
Thank you.
There are
Because
not
at
enough
least-
people arguing in this
Yeah,
country.
it's-
We need
it's-
to argue.
It's like, because some people, they'll pretend like they want to have a genuine discussion, but it's like playing tennis against a curtain.
Yeah.
Like it does nothing for you. And I think what you have proven in spades is that number one, there are people in this country that are within your age group that are willing to put in the work, and they're not just sitting at home bitching and moaning and complaining that things are not fair. And you have genuinely put yourself out there, and as a result, I've got nothing but respect for you.
Thank you.
It's absolutely amazing what you're doing. Like, and for those people that skipped over that part, they need to check out what you're doing with So We Vote.
Yes,
I think that's an amazing initiative, and the more people that get involved, especially within your age group, we're headed in a direction that will be so much better for all of us.
I just want to say before we wrap up the show, I see that Dr. Sam Motsuenyane died, founder of African Bank,
Oh my goodness!
founder of NAFCOC, along with people like Dr. Richard Maponya, a passionate farmer, a fountain of business wisdom, an incredible South African leader, and someone who most people in this country probably don't know about, but they should. So rest in peace, Dr. Sam Motsuenyane. And thank you very much, Otsile, for your contribution today.
Thank you.
sir.
And
Nice to have you on the show.
yes, and on that note, can I just end by saying this?
Go on.
Sure.
To all who are listening and who will be considering in this election who they're going to vote for, and are trying to convince people to get more active and to get more engaged, understand or try to get across the message to people that if you're a South African who's born in this country, will live your life in this country, and when you die, you'll be buried in this country, you have the duty to make sure that this country is much better off when you leave than when you entered. Because ultimately, if you're like me, you don't want to spend all of eternity when you're put in the ground in a shithole. You want to live in a good country. You want to be put in a good place.
You sound like Donald Trump.
And so let's do that.
Okay.
Let's do that.
Yep.
I mean, there's no language restrictions here.
No,
it's
of
not
course,
like
yeah.
TV,
You know what?
so I
we
could
must
put it
give
bluntly
we
like
must
that.
give you our own show. All right,
no.
everybody. Thank
Please
you
don't.
so much. Great to have you with us this morning. This Democracy 101 brought to you by the Podcast Party. There's a lot more. You can go over to podcastparty.co.za to find out all about it. And Jack has his own show there too. For all you know, Otsile will have his own by lunchtime today.
Yep.
Lots of things to still do. Lots of people to still talk to. And only a month until we go and vote. So let's do it. Thank you, everybody. Bye.
Cheers.
Wow.